calling this one Trouble in Paradise.
I'm a little creeped out out here. There's a bunch of spiders. They have these weird diamond things and they're so big and creepy. Oh, there's a bunny.
We're walking, if you can see this, long and dusty road. About 6 miles to the closest city.
Hey guys, if you've ever thought about volunteering abroad, then watch this video for tips on what not to do while going out for international volunteering.
Online, we found a volunteer restoration project outside of Merida in Yucatan, Mexico, which appeared to be paradise. Little did we know we were in for a surprise. Here we are, on the beginning of our journey. We sold or gave away nearly everything we owned, packed up everything that we needed into 2 backpacks, and headed into the great unknown.
Then we got to Phoenix, Arizona for a very long overnight layover. It was a great night and we got our last taste of the American life before heading off to Mexico.
The next morning we were up bright and early to catch our flight to Cancun. Reading the quintessential vagabonding book by Ralph Potts on the plane, we finally landed in Cancun and got onto the bus to the city of Merida.
We checked into our really cute Airbnb in Merida and explored the city while picking fruit off the trees. We love seeing all the old houses in central Merida and the old cathedrals and history.
We walked around the once beautiful mansions, now ruins, built during the green gold era of the Yucatan.
Here's Cassie.
Hey.
We're risking our lives to go and look around it.
Really cool. I think this is the kitchen.
We went on a bike ride, saw some local music at La Negrita, a local hangout where Cubano music is a testament to how alive and friendly the local culture is here.
Finally, the day came for us to leave for the restoration project. We were picked up by the host, his wife, and their old van and shuttled off. We were excited, yet a little nervous. We were 60 miles south of Merida on a dirty, dusty road, potholes everywhere, heading into the great unknown. At this point in our journey, we started thinking to ourselves, uh-oh, did we make a mistake?
We wondered if we were prepared for where we were heading. We knew it would be rustic, but we weren't sure exactly how rustic.
We just got here about an hour ago. It was a really bumpy ride. Excited, a little bit nervous. We have our shed. I love the little bird. It's pretty primitive, so we're just getting used to that, getting all our stuff set up. We'll see how our sleep goes. It's like 100 acres. Pretty cool. I thought it was gonna be greener, but you know, we're gonna make the most of it and see where this adventure takes us.
Our tiny house actually ended up being an electrical shack with no running water and no electricity.
But as optimistic travelers do, we started making our shack a home by setting up all of our stuff before heading up for dinner.
At this point, we figured we would be meeting other volunteers and staff on site, but instead quickly realized it was just us, our host, in the middle of nowhere. We immediately felt even more isolated than before. The only way to the closest town, 7 miles away, was by foot. The bikes that were provided had flat tires with no pump. We also realized how many tiny roommates we had when we saw how many insects were there in our shack.
Once the sun went down, all we had were our headlamps. So we decided to take a quick walk around to see what we could see.
I'm a little creeped out out here. There's a bunch of spiders. They have these weird, shiny, like, reflective diamond things, and they're so big and creepy. Oh, there's a bunny. Look, look.
So there we were in the middle of nowhere, with no electricity, and no contact with the outside world, trying to figure out the best way to last a whole month.
We set up a really sweet little mosquito net thing around our front entrance of our little shack, and we saw these really crazy ants, like these tree chopper ants.
Leaf cutter.
Leaf cutter ants.
Trying not to die.
We have like nothing up there. Thankfully we brought a lot of stuff because Nate brought this amazing life straw, and we're gonna be able to have fresh water. And we have a little bit of Wi-Fi, so we'll be okay. We'll survive.
Still optimistic about our chances, we headed in for the night.
We maybe got a couple winks of sleep that night. We tucked in really tight in the sheets. Up bright and early the next morning, we went back to the main house, had breakfast, and then went on a tour of the property. That's when we realized the eco-village that had been advertised didn't really exist. It was just a vision for the future. After the tour was done, there wasn't anything left for us to do. So rather than sit in our hot shack, we decided to go on a walk into the closest town. Walks are always good for talking things out and honesty.
Hello, audience. Hope you guys are doing well. We're calling this one Trouble in Paradise. We're walking, if you can see this, long and dusty road. About 6 miles to the closest city. Sleeping in a convent and blazing heat. So hope you guys are doing well, staying cool. This is where we thought we were staying. Maybe.
Oh, nice.
Not. We're gonna go rent a car with AC.
Down that dusty dirt road with no shade, our conversation went from let's stay for 2 weeks down to 1 week, down to one night, before realizing we couldn't fathom staying even one more night.
So there we were, on the last stretch before town, and we met this really nice Maya elder who kept us company on the walk. We finally made our way into town, suffering from heat exhaustion, dehydration, and disillusionment. At this point, we were firm in our decision to leave the project. We made our way to the closest rental in Merida, rented a car, blasted the AC, and headed back to pick up all of our stuff.
On the way, we stopped by a local hacienda for a much-needed meal.
We're in Hacienda Santa Cruz, and this place is beautiful. Look at this. Muy bonita.
After fueling up and continuing on, we really dreaded the conversation that we were going to have with our hosts.
We were kind of nervous what their reaction would be, but once we got there, we told them, and they weren't even really surprised at all. We picked up our bags, said our goodbyes, and left unscathed, other than a little mild heat stroke and some disappointment. Trying to figure out what we were going to do next, we were left with some fear and doubt. But as we've realized, that's pretty natural to feel that way, especially at first.
Booking an Airbnb near the center of Merida really gave us the opportunity to land back on our feet and start looking for the next volunteering project. For a silver lining, we probably would have never come to Merida if it hadn't been for this project.
So we really feel like a lot of the time, things happen for a reason. We saw we could have our own apartment and control where and how we live, which actually gives us a broader range of possibilities when it comes to volunteering.
We asked around the local population where they thought we should volunteer, and one name continually kept coming up, and that was Kimisuki of Yucatan Giving Outreach. One of the best ways to volunteer abroad in a foreign city is to ask the people, and they'll point you in the direction of the organizations that will be able to tell you what they need. Slow travel leads to making the greatest impact when it comes to helping those in need.
Researching online can be a great tool, but there are some tips to it. Ask lots and lots of questions to your organization. You can also request a list of previous volunteers and contact them directly, asking would they recommend it to people that they know. Trust us, if we had asked a lot of questions before going on this project, we probably wouldn't have been in the situation we found ourselves in. So even though it was a little rocky, we don't regret a single thing about our experience because we hope to pass along what we learned to you.
For more detailed tips and resources on volunteering abroad, check out our blog post, 11 Things to Double Check Before You Volunteer, in the link below. And thanks so much for tuning into Native Nomads today. Catch you on the next episode.
Adios!
Armadillo or an anteater fish. I feel like we're scientists right now.
I would never be like, thank God I had my handy headlamp. Like, I feel like it's like corny. We ended up staying up all night reading the few books that we had brought. I didn't write the word fathom.
I wrote the word fathom.
You have me use the word recoup.
Fine, don't say it.
It was a rocky ride.
Let me just say something really quick.
Yeah, we sound like
No!
I did not write rocky ride.
You could just say-